Okay, follow through. Effort made by the shooter to integrate, maintain, and continue all shooting fundamentals before, during, and immediately after firing the shot. Essentially, it goes to this: grabbing the gun, pulling the gun up, shooting the gun, shooting 1, 2, completely emptying the magazine or the cylinder, and then placing the gun back down. We want to have these techniques seamless, right? We want to be smooth. We want to know and feel comfortable, confident, not cocky in our ability, right? Minimizes gun movement is key. Sets up any successive shots. You know, this is round 2 through empty, and the reset position. A lot of people do not use the reset position. Once again, something I will cover in the video coming up. So this is a good look at the isosceles and Weaver stance. Isosceles essentially is, you've heard of an isosceles triangle at some point. It's essentially creating a diamond with your torso and your arms extended. And then the Weaver is essentially if you were to drop your right foot or your strong hand, which is, you know, your grip hand of the gun, back. So a left-handed shooter would not be in the same position. They'd actually have the left shoulder back, but they'd also have their left hand as their strong dominant hand that's gripping the gun. So moving on, we've got the low ready. The low ready is the position we take before pulling up to the target. Now, a low ready is not necessarily a safe position because the barrel is pointing potentially at something that we're not willing to eliminate. So the low ready should be used when the threat is still in front of us and is still an active threat. And then we can determine if we need to eliminate the threat. But the low ready is more of a safe, almost ready to fire position. If you're at the range, sometimes a low ready isn't suffice. Sometimes we need to point the barrel straight down to the ground. A low ready is still a defensive position. It is also in the offensive, it's a semi-ready to pull, right? Pull the trigger. So the low ready is when you want to keep your eyes on the threat and you want to keep them in your side of view. However, easily accessible to pull up to the ready and fire. Pistol ammunition, case, priming compound, powder charge, and bullet. These are all components of a round. Rimfire and centerfire. Rimfire rounds typically come in the .22 caliber, which means there is no piston. There is actually a coating, an igniting compound that's coated on the bottom or the rim of the round, and it is struck, the actual side of the case is struck with the firing pin, which that coating ignites, igniting the powder, ejecting the round out. Like I said, it's .22. Centerfire round, think of it as every round you see that actually has a primer. Okay, firing sequence of a cartridge. Firing pin strikes the primer, rim ignites the primer compound, flame ignites the powder, powder burns rapidly and generates hot, high-pressure gas. Pressure propels the bullet out of the barrel. That is exactly how a gun fires, or a round, fires. Okay, let's talk about different types of ammunition. First and foremost, I'm not going to cover every single type of ammunition. It is up to you to, as the owner, responsible owner of your firearm, to know what and what rounds your gun cannot fire. So the plus P and the plus P plus is a nomenclature for designated for most commonly the 9mm round. It's essentially, the 38 round. It's essentially designating how much powder is in there. So let's say a 38 revolver can shoot plus P. It has to be designated on that 38 revolver's owner's manual that it can handle plus P plus, because that is even more powder than just a plus P. So if you have a question, talk to a gunsmith, talk to a range master, talk to a gun store clerk who sold you the gun. Find out what rounds you're able to shoot with your gun. Some guns can shoot a variety of different rounds. Like a .357 Magnum can shoot a .38. Doesn't mean a .38 can shoot a .357, because a .357 is a longer, hotter round. So, storage of ammunition. Cool, dry place. I keep mine in my basement. Nice, neatly organized, separate from my guns, separate from my cleaning components and compounds and chemicals. I have 3 different locations. I have a location in my house where I store my rounds. The same location has my safe in it, but my safe does not handle my rounds. My rounds are locked up in a separate compartment. And then my cleaning is all done in a separate area altogether. So a cool, dry place. Keep your rounds in the original factory box or carton. Why? Because a .38 round looks like a .38 round, looks like a plus P .38 round, and a plus P plus. Sometimes you won't have a way to know unless you keep the carton it came in. And obviously do not expose to solvents, petroleum, bore cleaner, ammonia, and so on. This will essentially affect the round's stability. Could be a safety issue, could just be that your rounds are going to be ineffective, they will not fire, but just keep them separate to be safe. Okay, misfires, failures of a cartridge to ignite when the primer or case rim has been struck by the firing pin. Hold for 30 seconds downrange or in a safe direction. Once again, there's a video on that. Hang fire, there's a video on that as well. A hang fire and a misfire, they have the same characteristics, other than a hang fire. In that time, within that 30 seconds, the hang fire will actually be delayed and will ignite later. So that's why we hold for 30 seconds. You could think you have a misfire. God forbid you make the silly mistake of looking down the wrong end of the barrel and it's actually a hang fire, the round goes off, or putting the barrel in a direction which is not safe. Same thing, gun goes off, delayed reaction, and the round fires. Squib load is essentially when the round goes off, but there's a different powder charge. It just feels different. So essentially a squib load can be like a half shot or half spent round. Yes, the round did leave the actual cartridge, but all the powder inside of the round did not go off, therefore it didn't have as much recoil as the rounds previous. Squib loads are dangerous in terms of, when you have a squib load, you want to check the gun, you want to make safe immediately, because that round could have been light and light enough to where the round actually doesn't leave the barrel, and essentially you shoot that next round, now you've got one projectile pushing another out of the barrel. The guns are meant to handle a certain amount of pressure. If it exceeds the pressure, the allowable pressure load, the barrel could fracture, explode, hurting the person shooting. So squib load, you want to make safe.